The philosophy of test-driven development is to develop code incrementally. First, we write tests that we know will fail, and then we write just enough code to get that test to pass. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's essential to actually testing what we want to test. And the best way to do this is seeing that it fails before we make changes to that code. It's very easy to write a test accidentally that always passes even when the code doesn't work. Writing tests that fail, and then writing just enough code to get that test to pass, while making sure that all of the preceding tests still pass, is known as red-green refactor. This means that when we want to improve our code, we first add a test that should fail, then we make our planned change to the code and ensure that it makes the test pass. Once we've proven that our tests can both pass and fail, and thus it tests exactly what we wanted, then we can maybe refactor our code in order to make it cleaner and easier to extend. So let's start creating some tests. Remember, we create our tests inside of our calcspec.js file. But before we open that up, let's think about how you would describe tests for a calculator in English. You might say, I want to test a calculator. I'm going to test the addition function. I want to get the result of 42. So I expect 20 plus 22 to equal 42. And this is exactly the same with Jasmine. We start by describing our tests. So we want to describe a calculator. Then we describe the tests we want to perform. We say what it should do. We pass in our expectation, addition of 20 plus 22, to be 42. So let's go ahead and start doing that now. Let's open up our calcspec.js file in Cloud9 by double-clicking on it, and we can start to add some test code. So remember, the first thing that we need to do is to describe our test. So we're going to describe a test for calculator. That's the first argument of our describe function. The second one is a function. So pass that in. And then inside here, we're going to describe some additional tests. So we're going to say we want to do some addition tests, just as we talked about before. Again, the second parameter is a function again. Let Cloud9 help you here. Watch out for your brackets and curly braces. This is often a problem when developing tests using Jasmine. Now we can make our assertions. So we're going to say that it should return 42. That's what we expect. Our second parameter is a function yet again. And what we're now going to say is that we expect that when we run our addition function with the numbers 20 and 22, we expect that to be 42. That's what we expect to have returned. Keep an eye on the case here. It's very important that you have an uppercase B. So now that we have our test written, let's see if it passes. So we'll go to our index.html and preview it. And we can see here that our test fails, as expected. And it tells us why our test failed. And that's because we have a reference error saying that addition is not defined. Which is obvious because we haven't actually defined our addition function in our calc.js file yet. So let's go ahead and do that now. Function addition. And think for a second, what's the easiest way that we can get this test to pass? Well, it's just to return the number 42, isn't it? So let's do that. Save our file and preview our index.html file once again. And we can see that all of our tests now pass. A calculator that can only return 42 isn't terribly useful though. So now in our next video, we're going to build more tests, and see how we can get those to pass while incrementally building our addition function.